Story 1, Missing. I used to think memories faded with time. That the mind, in its desperation to keep a person sane, would gently file away the trauma, seal it behind thick walls, and let life go on. I was wrong. Some memories don't fade. Some memories hang in the air like a smell burned into cloth. Some memories sit beside you at dinner, sleep in the corner of your bedroom, breathe behind your ear whenever the night grows too quiet. And some memories, the very worst kind, wait for you to come home. My name is Emily Harper, and when I was 8 years old, my little brother Logan vanished from our backyard in our small lakeside town in Michigan. He was 4. I was supposed to be watching him. And for 17 years, I believed that was the worst thing that would ever happen to our family. I had no idea. Not until I came home at 25. Not until I walked into the attic. Not until I opened the old trunk. Not until I found the flyers. Snowfall. The day Logan disappeared, November 23, 2003, was the first snowfall of the season. A thin, glittering sheet dusted everything in the backyard, the swing set, the garden beds, the big oak tree covered in fat white flakes. I remember thinking it looked like the beginning of a Christmas card. Mom had been baking pumpkin bread. Dad was fixing the water heater. I took Logan outside because he always begged to make the first snow angel. He wore a puffy red jacket that made him look like a walking tomato. His hat had a pom-pom on top that bounced every time he laughed. He dropped backward into the snow and giggled like only 4-year-olds can, free, unguarded, loud enough to shake the sky. "I'm the king of the snow," he shouted. I teased. "King of the backyard, maybe." He stuck his tongue out at me. It was 5 minutes of purity. 5 minutes of ordinary. 5 minutes before my life split neatly into 2 eras, before Logan and after Logan. "Emily, I'm thirsty." I remember this sentence more clearly than the Pledge of Allegiance. I remember the way his breath fogged when he said it. I remember the exact tone of my, "Okay, wait here," the way I rolled my eyes like a bratty 8-year-old. I went inside. It took less than 90 seconds to pour a plastic cup of apple juice. When I came back out, the yard was silent. The red jacket was gone. The snow angel was empty. And there were no footprints except his original ones, perfect, untouched, like he'd simply evaporated. For a long moment, I didn't move. My brain refused to understand. I called his name. Softly at first. Then louder. Then screaming. Mom ran outside without a coat. Dad slipped on the icy stairs. We searched the yard. The house. The shed. The street. The police came. They found nothing. The investigation. The backyard fence was nearly 7 feet tall, black iron, sharp spikes at the top. There was no way a 4-year-old could climb it, not even with help. And the gate, the only entrance, was locked from the inside with a rusted latch that took even adults a moment to lift. The snow was new, powdery, perfect. No adult footprints. No tire tracks. No signs of a struggle. The sheriff said the only possible explanation was that someone had lifted Logan over the fence. Someone strong. Someone quick. Someone who knew what they were doing. "They took him while your daughter was in the house for a minute," he told my parents. A minute. That word haunted me for years. The case spiraled instantly, news vans, reporters, neighbors volunteering search parties. For the first month, the whole town was a single organism beating toward one purpose, finding Logan Harper. It didn't matter. He was gone. And my mother. My mother did not break. She transformed. The yellow flyers. Mom stopped sleeping. She stopped eating. She became a machine with one function, to keep Logan alive in the eyes of the world. She used our family's small copyprint shop as a base of operations. I remember the smell of ink, the heat of the printers, the relentless whirring that echoed long after the machines were turned off. Mom designed the flyers herself, bright yellow, impossible to ignore. She said yellow was hope, the color of the sun, the color Logan loved best. She printed 200,000. She plastered them across 5 counties. Stapled them to every telephone pole. Stuffed them into every mail slot. Taped them to every gas station window. People started calling her the Saint of Sorrow. But the truth is, there was nothing saintly about the way she worked. There was desperation, obsession, and something ancient and animal buried behind her eyes. She dragged me along every weekend. I hated it. I hated the cold, the driving, the crying, the way people looked at us. Dad tried to reason with her at first. Sarah, this isn't sustainable. We have Emily to think about. We need to rest. But she didn't hear him. By year 3, she'd grown thin and frantic, her hair falling out in clumps. Dad found 2 cell phones hidden in her dresser, secret phones she used to pretend someone was calling with leads. She would dial her own numbers from the landline, then answer breathlessly and say, "Yes? Yes, this is Logan's mother. Do you know where he is?" Dad tried to take the phones away. She screamed. He left a month later, moved to Texas, rebuilt a quiet, forgettable life. He visited me twice a year, guilt packed into small cracks between forced smiles. I didn't blame him then. I still don't blame him now. Living with Mom meant drowning beside her. November 2011. I was 16 the night everything changed again. It was November 14th. Temperature, negative 15 degrees Celsius. Wind howling against the windows like wolves. I was sleeping when my bedroom door smacked open, slamming into the wall so hard a picture frame fell. Mom stood in the doorway. Her eyes were red. Her hair was tangled. She smelled like gasoline and exhaustion. "Get up, Emily," she whispered. "We're bringing him home tonight." I sat up slowly. "Mom, what are you talking about?" She shoved something into my hands. A bucket of gasoline. A coil of rope. Her voice shook, not with fear, but with conviction so sharp it was almost holy. "We have to finish what I couldn't finish back then." My heart hammered. "Mom, you're scaring me." But she was already storming down the stairs. I followed her outside, where the car engine was running, headlights off, exhaust fogging the frigid air. The roads were empty. The sky was black. The lake was a single sheet of glassy ice stretching into darkness. Mom sped down the main road, not speaking, not blinking, her hands white-knuckled on the wheel. I could barely breathe. "Mom, where are we going?" "They forgot him," she murmured. "One child wasn't enough. But two children gone, they will never forget us." My blood turned to ice. She was planning to stage another disappearance. Me. She wanted me to burn alive inside the car, to turn me into a martyr beside Logan. To carve our family name into the national consciousness forever. "Mom, stop the car. Stop." But she didn't. Her chest tightened suddenly. Her breath hitched. Then she clutched her sternum, face twisting. "Mom?" The car veered violently. The lake appeared before us like a black mouth. I screamed. The car smashed through the thin crust of frozen water. I felt the world tip, the cold explode, the seatbelt choking my ribs. I kicked. I clawed. I broke the window with my elbow, pain screaming up my arm. Water swallowed the dashboard. Mom's body slumped forward, unmoving. I climbed out through the shattered window just as the car nosedived into the lake. The cold tore at my lungs. I swam blindly toward the faint shape of the shore. When I looked back, the last thing I saw was Mom sinking, her hands still clutching a crumpled photo of Logan. She died from a massive heart attack. I lived. And the world moved on. 9 years later. I didn't return to the house until I was 25. Not because I was avoiding it, though that was part of it, but because I simply had nowhere else to be. Dad had remarried in Texas. I had aged out of foster care. College was a blur. Life had become a steady rhythm of surviving, not living. Then came the call, The house needed to be sold. I drove back to Michigan alone, snow falling in lazy, indifferent flakes, just like the day Logan vanished. The house smelled the same. Ink, dust, stale winter air. Most rooms were empty. But the attic still held our old things. Boxes, coats, broken toys, and the trunk. An old wooden trunk with metal clasps. Where Mom kept the flyers. But not Logan's. I lifted the lid. My breath died in my throat. Inside were 10,000 pristine yellow flyers. Not weathered. Not folded. Not stained. Unused. Perfect. But they weren't for Logan. They were for me. Have you seen me? Emily Harper, missing since November 14, 2011. My 16-year-old face stared back at me, smiling stiffly, standing in front of the backyard fence where Logan disappeared. I dropped the flyer. My knees buckled. Mom had printed these. Thousands. Tens of thousands. She'd planned it all. She'd prepared every detail. She'd been ready to turn me into the next great mystery. If she hadn't died that night, if her heart hadn't given out, I wouldn't be standing here at all. I would have been the second missing Harper child. The final thread in her tapestry of tragedy. The proof that she was right all along. That the world would never forget us. People still ask me about Logan. Did I ever feel him nearby? Did I believe he was alive? Did I ever dream of him calling my name? The truth is awful. There are nights I wonder whether Logan's disappearance didn't kill my mother, but birthed something else inside her. A hunger. A calling. A need to make the world hurt as much as she did. I used to blame myself for leaving him alone that day. Now I blame the silence. The way the backyard seemed to hold its breath. The way the snow remained perfect. The way Mom's grief metastasized into madness. But most of all, I blame the moment I opened that trunk. Because since that day, whenever I walk past a telephone pole, whenever I see a flyer, whenever I hear paper rustling in the wind, I swear I hear a whisper behind me. Soft. Familiar. Almost childlike. Emily? And sometimes, I turn around. Story 2, The Viewer. The Box in the Ruins, 1998. When I was 8 years old, I learned that some objects don't belong in the world. Some things carry a weight that children aren't built to understand. And once you lift them, once you give them your eyes, they never truly let you go. My name is Caleb Morrison, and the first time I saw the box, the air in Iron Hollow tasted like smoke. Our old high school had burned down 2 days earlier. 11 kids died in the fire. The papers called it a structural electrical failure. The adults whispered other theories in supermarkets: arson, cults, curses. But to us neighborhood kids, the charred skeleton of the building was simply the most exciting, forbidden playground we'd ever seen. My friends dared me to look inside the wreckage. 8 years old, stupidly brave, I climbed a broken section of wall and dropped into the ruined hallway. The floor was blackened. The lockers had melted into warped metal shapes. The air still smelled of something burnt and sweet and wrong. I wasn't inside for more than a minute when I saw it. A long wooden box, about 2 feet wide and maybe 2 inches deep. No lid. No hinges. Just smooth, old wood carved with faint patterns, spirals, triangles, something like eyes repeated over and over. The top had 5 small fogged glass windows arranged like a dice pattern. And on its sides, 2 holes. Circular. The exact size and shape of eyes. It didn't look like it should have survived a fire at all. But it sat there perfectly intact, resting in a patch of untouched ash as if the flames had bent around it. I approached it slowly. Cautiously. And then I looked inside. That was my first mistake. The miniature house. Sunlight hit the fogged glass at the perfect angle, illuminating the interior. And inside the box, impossibly detailed, was a tiny house. Not a dollhouse. Not a toy. A living house. A whole world, compressed into wood and glass and shadow. A flickering kitchen light. A hallway decorated with framed photos. A living room carpet I could almost feel under bare feet. The figures were there too. A family of 4. 2 adults. 2 kids. And a grey cat curled on the windowsill. They weren't moving. But they weren't frozen. They were simply paused. Caught in the middle of existence, like the instant before someone inhales. The strangest part wasn't that I knew it was real. It was that I knew them. Deep in my gut, something in me recognized the people in the box the way you recognize your parents' footsteps in the hallway or the scent of your grandmother's kitchen. I don't know how long I stared. Maybe seconds. Maybe hours. But a sound behind me made me jump. CALEB. It was my friend Dylan calling from outside the ruins. I blinked, stepped back, and the miniature house dimmed instantly, like the light inside had been turned off. I should have left it there. I should have run. Told an adult. But instead, I picked it up. The world hasn't been the same since. The house through the years, 1998 to 2006. I kept the box hidden in my room for years. At 8, I checked it every day. At 13, I checked it once a week. At 16, I checked it only when something felt wrong. Every time I looked inside, the family was in a different moment, like I was watching pieces of a film out of order. The grey cat batting at dust motes. The boy doing homework. The girl practicing ballet in the living room. Once, the father came home late, shoulders slumped, face tired. Another time, the mother was on the phone, crying softly in the kitchen. Every moment was ordinary. Painfully intimate. Too real to be anything but truth. The box didn't show fantasies. It showed reality. Their reality. I grew up watching strangers live their private lives as if they were characters on a TV I couldn't turn off. By the time I was 16, something changed. The father started deteriorating. At first it was just sleeplessness. Then pacing. Then staring for hours at the garage wall, unmoving, eyes hollow. Every time I looked, he was thinner. Darker. Wrong. I should have smashed the box. Thrown it into the river. Buried it. But part of me was addicted. Part of me felt responsible. Like if I didn't watch, something worse would happen. One night, everything finally did. The Night of Knives, 2006. I didn't want to look. For weeks, I'd been terrified of what the father might do. His world felt like a ticking bomb. But something compelled me, an instinct, a whisper, a subtle pressure behind my eyes. I lifted the box. Tilted it under the lamp. Inside, the living room was lit by a weak bulb. The boy lay on the couch with a blanket. The girl sat on the floor drawing. The father stood in the doorway, holding a hunting knife. A long, old-fashioned blade. My breath froze. Then the scene shifted. Fast. Chaotic. Like a video glitching from frame to frame. The father grabbing the boy by the hair. The knife pressed to his ear. The ear being sliced clean off. Blood spraying the coffee table. The girl screaming silently. The mother running down the hall. The father turning. The blade plunging into her stomach. Once. Twice. Again. Again. No sound. Only the horror of motion. The final scene lasted 18 hours. The mother on the floor. Alive. Barely. Watching her husband pace the hallway, hands soaked in blood. Watching the knife glint. Watching the seconds drip like the blood pooling around her. And I watched too. I couldn't look away. When dawn came through my window, the miniature family was gone. The house inside the box was empty. Silent. I snapped the box shut, though it had no lid, and locked it in a bank safe the next day. I told myself I'd never look again. For 19 years, I kept that promise. Until now. 2025, the whispers. I'm 35 now. Married. 2 kids of my own. Life was normal. Safe. Ordinary. Until the whispering started. It began as faint echoes in the middle of the night, my name, spoken softly, almost politely. Caleb. Then commands, subtle at first. Look. Remember. Return. Then one night, a sentence. Your turn. I jolted awake, sweating, heart pounding. I looked at Lauren sleeping beside me, peaceful, unaware of the dread rotting inside my skull. I told myself it was stress. A buried childhood trauma resurfacing. Maybe some kind of auditory hallucination. But the whispers kept coming. Every night. Every hour. Every time I closed my eyes. Your turn. Your turn. Your turn. And worse. I started imagining things. Flashes of violence. Knives. Blood. My kids' faces replaced by the boy and girl in the box. My temper shortened. I snapped at Lauren for nothing. I yelled at my kids when they were just being kids. And the fear grew. The same fear the father must have felt before he snapped. The box was calling me back. Reclaiming me. And I knew. With a clarity that turned my stomach cold. That I had to check the safe. I had to see if the box was still asleep. I shouldn't have gone. The knife on the table. The hunting knife wasn't mine. That's what terrified me first. I came downstairs tonight to write this, my confession, my warning. My final attempt to make sense of the unraveling threads in my skull. And that's when I saw it. Lying on the table. The same knife from the box. Old. Scratched. Stained with something dark embedded in the handle. It wasn't possible. The box was in a bank vault. Sealed. Untouched. Locked away from light. But when I picked up the knife, I heard breathing behind me. Slow. Heavy. Familiar. My own breathing. Except I wasn't moving. The eye outside. I stumbled outside, knife in hand, ready to throw it into the woods. To get it away from me. Away from my family. The fog in the backyard was thick, clinging to the porch, swallowing the trees. The air was unnaturally still. Then something shifted in the mist. A shape. A ripple. And an eye emerged. An enormous eye. As large as a car. Floating in the fog. White. Pupil dilated. Red veins like cracks in ice. And I recognized it instantly. It was my eye. My own reflection, blown to monstrous scale, staring at me with cold, paralyzing hunger. The box didn't need my gaze anymore. It had learned to look back. I dropped the knife. Stumbled backward. The eye followed. Motionless. Unblinking. Studying me the way I used to study it. Then. Caleb. Lauren's voice drifted from the doorway. Honey? Are you coming back inside? The kids want you. I froze. The fog behind me shifted. The eye grew darker. Lauren called again, softer this time, worried. Caleb, please come upstairs. My body moved on its own. Not because I wanted to. But because the eye wanted me to. The last steps. I picked up the hunting knife. It felt warm now. Like it had been waiting for my hand. The back door clicked shut behind me. Locked automatically. The house felt smaller. Quieter. Holding its breath. Lauren's silhouette appeared at the top of the stairs, framed by the soft yellow glow of the hallway light. Caleb? Are you okay? My kids peeked out from behind her. 2 small faces. Confused. Unaware. And in my mind. In some deep place I couldn't control, I saw the miniature family again. The boy, the girl, the mother, the father with the knife. A perfect mirror. A loop. A cycle. A pattern repeating. The eye pressed against the window behind me. Fog warping its shape. Pupil dilating. Watching. Commanding. Your turn. My grip tightened around the knife. I felt myself going up the stairs. One step. Then another. Slow. Deliberate. Not my will. The boxes. I reached the top. Lauren reached out to touch my arm. Caleb, baby? Talk to me. My heart screamed at me to drop the knife. Run. Protect them. But the whisper in my skull drowned everything. The box doesn't need light anymore. It doesn't need your eyes. It has learned to see through you. My arm lifted. The knife gleamed. Lauren gasped. The children's eyes widened. The fog outside thickened, pressing against the windows like a living thing. I don't remember anything after that moment. Only darkness. Only watching. As if from inside a box. Trapped. Sight taken from me. Replaced with something else. The last steps. I picked up the hunting knife. It felt warm now. Like it had been waiting for my hand. The back door clicked shut behind me. Locked automatically. The house felt smaller. Quieter. Holding its breath. Lauren's silhouette appeared at the top of the stairs, framed by the soft yellow glow of the hallway light. Caleb? Are you okay? My kids peeked out from behind her. Two small faces. Confused. Unaware. And in my mind. In some deep place I couldn't control. I saw the miniature family again. The boy. The girl. The mother. The father with the knife. A perfect mirror. A loop. A cycle. A pattern repeating. The eye pressed against the window behind me. Fog warping its shape. Pupil dilating. Watching. Commanding. Your turn. My grip tightened around the knife. I felt myself going up the stairs. One step. Then another. Slow. Deliberate. Not my will. The boxes. I reached the top. Lauren reached out to touch my arm. Caleb, baby? Talk to me. My heart screamed at me to drop the knife. Run. Protect them. But the whisper in my skull drowned.